Okay.
Hello.
Hi. It's been so long. Okay,
It's the Rookie Teacher of the Year.
Hi, guys.
Miami-Dade County. Isn't she fabulous?
My hair looks a mess right now, but you know what? It is
yours all.
Oh, and we also have a non-teacher. She left us for the union. Not UTD, though.
No, SCIU 1991.
She is working specifically for a nurses union at Jackson Memorial Hospital. Super awesome. Congratulations to
Thank
you.
you.
Beautiful. I'm so excited for you. It's so awesome.
I'm really excited.
So today, I guess we can go ahead and jump right in. As you can tell, we don't have a script because we just want to talk to you guys specifically about classroom.
Yeah. And I think also why I decided to leave the classroom, because it is something that was a very hard decision to make.
Yeah, some people thought she got fired. That's not what happened.
And then a lot of students thought it was because of something they did too, which I think was really hard to hear. I think they gave themselves too much credit.
It's like, no, we're not going to leave because of you guys. That's not the case.
And then it was this year that was like, please, this is not my hardest.
Right.
You are not that difficult, guys. You're little babies.
We love you.
I love you guys so much, and I miss you if you're listening.
So I guess we can just jump right in. This is coffee. It's great. It's hazelnut. Walshy, she made it. Maggie, not Miss Walsh anymore. Maggie. Swaggy. Anyway, it's never going to go away. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I guess a couple of life updates. I recently won Rookie Teacher of the Year for the Miami-Dade County Public Schools District. Super excited. Thank you so much for everyone. Thank you, Maggie, for helping me so much, supporting me in so many different ways that I couldn't even name off of the top of my head. But with that, let's go ahead and get started.
Awesome.
So the question of the day, the T, why'd you leave us?
Well, it was a really hard decision to make. I think I started applying to jobs in November during Thanksgiving, and I think I was motivated to do that just because of my frustrations at work.
What are frustrations? What do you mean?
I think, it had nothing to do with the kids. I love my students, but it was more, I just realized that I was angry all the time.
Angry?
I was just upset, and it was just little things that would happen every day, like not receiving resources.
What do you mean? Can we go into detail since...
Yes, of course.
Okay.
So, not receiving, we talked about classroom resources and how teachers are expected to bring all their own resources. Paper, I pay for my own ink, books, and these are just things that are not provided to us. And then despite just those physical classroom resources, it's a lack of resources in help. I would have 25 kids who really just needed a lot of help to gain that reading proficiency, who are not at a reading proficiency. And I think that just seems and you're expected to have all this. And I think some of them, they're amazing and they're able to reach those goals, but they need to be the classrooms need to be strategic, and the administration needs to be strategic in having students reach those goals. A class of people that are not at proficiencies, kids that are not at proficiency, they need to be small. And not just small, they need to be categorized by levels. It is unrealistic to think that I can teach 1.1 to students who are very, very low proficiency, and 2.2s who are practically at that proficiency grade level that we need.
You just need a little bit more of a push.
Yeah, and teaching those two, you cannot
in the same
push.
Class.
Yes, in the same class of 25 kids where I'm by myself, it's really just, you can't push those 2.2s and those 1.1s at the same time.
And I want to interject really quickly because a class of 25, guys, that is what the state says is the maximum, right? But there are some instances where class sizes are even larger than that. There are some classes that have 40 kids in a core class. That is a thing. That has a mixture between students who have passed their EOC exams and students who have not passed their EOC exams in the same course. And on top of that, there is a loophole, essentially, where schools can pay a fine to put more students in the classroom past that maximum capacity that is required essentially by law, quote unquote, by the state. So there are ways around putting more than 25 students in a classroom. If your school wanted to, they can pay the fine, which happens a lot, and put 30, 40 kids in a classroom because they paid the fine. So I just wanted to drop that little negative wisdom.
And it's cheaper than hiring a teacher.
And it's cheaper than hiring a teacher, but it's not. It doesn't help the student or the teacher in the long run, which leads to losing teacher retention. But anyway,
and I think just to add on to that there's ways around. So I think a big pushback when I make that argument is that administration and I think teachers in general are differentiated small group instruction to meet those kids and having them into 3 groups and rotating around. But if you see students who are at 1.1 who are really struggling readers, putting them in a small group and by themselves for like half an hour is in itself difficult. Because how do you, I think students at that point, are frustrated.
And what she's referring to is a model we call in the classroom called differentiated instruction. The 30-30-30 model is a model. Yeah. It is not the only model, but regardless, it's essentially a model to remediate those deficiencies that a student might have so that you can kind of dig a little bit deeper. The problem with that is when you try to do that every single day, do you learn anything in 30 minutes that you didn't get the first time? Nope, I don't. It takes me more than that, right? And then on top of that, the students are not learning the things that they need to on grade level. When you're differentiating instruction and when you're remediating, typically you're not on grade level, right? You're scaffolding it down for them so that those students can catch on. But if you continuously teach a student on a 8th grade level and it's a 10th grade class,
they're not ready for the material, and you also can't grade that material.
Exactly.
So students are working for an half hour, and they know that they're not going to get a grade. And we said this: do you work for free? No,
I think I do actually. I don't know.
Okay, I don't work for free.
I think I do work for free.
And we have not reached a point for our students where that intrinsic motivation and seeing that you can do something and do it well without a grade. Because I think it's just not there yet.
Yeah, I totally understand that.
So I think those frustrations in general are just a collective.
So resources is one thing that we're talking about, and then giving students the extra support that they need. Anything else?
I mean, I think just the politics of a school also were just frustrating, and the situations
what do you mean? Because I'm inquiring in my Wendy Williams voice.
Even though you know the answer from all of it.
I want people to be able to see what's going on in your head because I'm not going to tell your story, right?
Of course, yeah.
What do you mean by the politics?
So I think as a union steward, we learned a lot about what goes on with teachers and our staffing, and it often felt like there was something wrong and that we were looking for something wrong with teachers, and there was always some kind of tension between administrators and teachers, and it became an instant where we didn't feel safe, right? And how there were instances in which we had to fight for our school to be put on a code red, or to not have to look for guns. And I just think it's so...
So safety is another reason why you decided to...
I'm not dying under fluorescent lights. You see all these, you see all these news stories about these mass shootings in schools, and I think it was something that I saw, and that it was scary, but I didn't want to be in an environment where it was a close reality. And I think that's an issue for all teachers, really, today. And I think that was an issue, and then in circumstances where I was put in danger, when I was threatened by students, I didn't feel supported often, and that was frustrating. And I think in general, working in an environment where I can't tell my family what's going on in my job because they told me multiple times that it was not okay is frustrating because it's very isolating. But the only person I felt like I could talk to were other teachers like you guys, and to not be able to tell people about your job because they're aghast by the situations, I think is very, it can be very lonely.
I totally understand that. So, I mean, let's go ahead and tell the audience, Miss Walsh did not leave because she did not like kids.
I love that.
She did not leave because she was fired. That did not happen. That is incorrect, okay? I think that one of the biggest things that we really need to understand and have a conversation about is how we can retain teachers. Because, Ms. Walsh, would you be willing to come back to the classroom later on down the line?
Yeah.
So it's not like she's just like, forget the profession as a whole, right? And I think that that's an issue that really we have been grappling with our generation specifically, because a lot of people are not leaving college and then going into the classroom. So what happens when these teachers who have retirement eligibility go ahead and retire? Who's going to take on that next generation of students, right? Someone has to go into the classroom, because if not, then there's going to be even more of a teacher deficit, and it already exists today, right? Yeah. So I think the conversation at this point is, how do we get teachers in the classroom, and how do we keep teachers in the classroom, and how do we mitigate those issues that Maggie has talked about? I think that it's definitely important to talk. We always talk about teacher pay, right? But Ms. Walsh has a degree from an Ivy League university. She has a degree from Cornell University. And leaving the classroom and then going into a different field, a different arena, has definitely changed the amount of money that she's making per year, right? Still the same person, right? And she's even gotten even more experience with union working with United Teachers of Dade County. Shout out to UTD. You guys are awesome.
Yes, they are.
But how can we raise the amount of money that teachers are making a year? Because these are conversations that aren't necessarily at the forefront consistently. But I don't want to go political on you guys, because it's...
And I think it's not just money.
Yeah.
But it's also just an environment in which teachers feel valued. And I think teachers don't feel valued in their workplace. Like, we're expected to work work miracles, but it's also, we're often told that we're not doing enough. Mm-hmm. That if we put ourselves before our students, we're considered selfish. And you've been in those meetings where when we have argued that something that we don't agree with, it's become, well, you're selfish and you're not helping your students.
Right.
And you're making sure your students fail because you're putting yourself first. You take a sick day, well, when are your students going to learn? Mm-hmm. And it's this idea that we are responsible for their success, but to a point where we have to sacrifice ourselves.
Right.
And that when we're thinking and when we're going against the grain, we're seen as selfish.
And I think that teacher morale is a huge, component, a conversation, mm-hmm. right? Think about a lot of these new companies that have put things in their workplace, like gym facilities, right? Like cafeterias, like game rooms. Like, I'm not advocating that you put a pool table in the school rooms, right? But I'm just saying these are ways in which companies have worked to increase the morale of their workers. A happy employee, right, creates happy customers because they're happy doing their jobs. And I think that that's a huge component, right? Ways to appreciate teachers and people without just giving them a lollipop, right? That doesn't show me that you actually appreciate what I'm doing. It just shows that, okay, well, it looks like the teachers are calling out a little bit more often. Let me give them a lollipop this week, right?
Yeah.
I think that actually doing things that will increase staff morale and faculty morale, saying at, meetings, hey, I see what this department is doing. I see you. Thank you, right? Yeah. Or when teachers bring up issues like, hey, I have X amount of students who are not coming to school. We need to work on this. Like, you actually working with the teachers and acknowledging that their concerns are coming from a place that's valid, right?
Yeah.
I don't know any teacher that doesn't have at least a bachelor's degree. Do you? No, right? So these are educated professionals. It's not like you just threw some high school students into a classroom and told them to teach each other. No. You put someone in a classroom that is degreed for a reason.
And I think some of the smartest people I've met so far in my life have been at Carroll City. Like, when you look at people that, like, I'm just amazed by how their brain works and how they're able to figure things out. So it's not that teachers deserve to be listened to and appreciated, because that means so much when somebody that is your supervisor, your boss, listens to your concerns and validates them and changes them. I think really makes you feel like you're part of a process, and it does increase morale because people want to feel like they're being heard and listened to and valued.
Right, and resources, like, we only get like 300 and some change to last for an entire school year, right? I should not be spending all of that money on paper and ink.
No, and
I don't think that's fair.
People don't realize, like, when you walk into a classroom, it's empty. You don't have books. You don't have that, like, you don't have anything. You don't have, like,
and books, when we say books, I mean, like, you have, like, your class books that you're reading, right? But, like, novels and things like that. Like, well, and for us, we don't have books at all because the 10th grade and 9th grade book is electronic, so there's literally no book.
No books, especially and then we don't have computers.
Right.
Like, we don't have computers in our classroom. And then we don't have books. So I don't know how, like, but then we're expected to print the text then.
Yeah,
but
so you have to
print it using your own materials.
Right. Would you tell a police officer that he has to buy his own gun? No. Here's the thing. So this is the craziest thing. I said, Maggie, so, like, what was it like your first day? Like, did you have to buy materials and whatnot for your office? And she said, no, I didn't have to buy no materials. Actually, when I asked that question, they were like, you gotta be kidding me, right?
Yeah.
We was like, no, we're not kidding. Like,
I'm like, wow, we have paper and pens. They gave me pens when I walked in. And I had Post-its.
Right. Wow. I think that's another valid, issue that we have in classrooms, that we don't have the resources to support the most vulnerable, right? If we work at a Title I school, this is not if the majority of the students that we service are on free and reduced lunch, right? Why is it fair to ask these students to bring in all of these supplies when literally one of their basic necessities, like food, is at the bottom of the hierarchy of needs, right? And so I'm telling you to bring paper, right? But the teachers are literally stuck because if I don't tell you to bring paper, I literally cannot afford to continuously purchase paper over and over and over and over again for a whole school year. Like, that's not a realistic expectation. And I think one other thing that you hit on was the safety concerns, right? I think that every person, regardless of where they work, should feel safe in the environments that they're at. Do you feel safe at your new job? Mm-hmm. Do you go through a metal detector?
Only when I was going through the ER, but no.
Okay, cool, interesting. That was the question I want to know. Do you go through a metal detector every day?
No, but I can go to the bathroom whenever I want.
Jealous. No, I can go to the bathroom whenever I want to, though. It's just I have to wait on security.
Yeah.
But they always come. Our security officers at our school, they're super, super awesome. As well as our school resource officers, they're dope too. So shout out to you guys. But I think that we really wanted in this space to clear the air and talk about, teacher retention, talk about reasons why specifically Maggie decided to leave, and the fact that she is willing to come back at some point down the line.
And that I love my students. And
I love our
students.
Nothing
to do with them and how they were in the classroom, because I thought they were amazing and they grew so much. And they're really fantastic human beings that I think are going to change the world.
Right. And if you are interested in becoming a teacher, you can send me a message on Ms. Lee _Stagram. Instagram page MSLEE_STAGRAM. Or you can look into Teach for America. That is a phenomenal program. You can go ahead and put in the application. What are some other resources? KIP.
Yeah.
You can do KIP.
Urban schools.
And I always need chaperones for my field trip. So if you want to send me a message, if you're interested in here in the Miami-Dade area, and you want to chaperone or do some tutoring or anything like that, we can get you level 1 and level 2 cleared so that you can interact with these amazing students that I get to see every single day. All right?
Yep.
Huh?
Awesome.
Toodles. It was nice to see y'all. See you soon.